Within a bleak and dismal swamp, hidden beneath its murky waters, lies the headquarters of the most sinister villains of all time, the Legion of Doom.
Hello, everyone. Today is exciting. We have Tom Taylor, someone I've wanted to talk to for a long time. And I know you're on your phone, but I'm wearing my custom-made Nightwing shirt, if you can see it at all.
Amazing. David, yeah.
It's because my Tree Lobster shirt is in the laundry. You know,
I want to see that whether it's in the laundry or not. I want to see it, even if you had to.
I didn't make a Tree Lobster one, but
Yeah.
they need to. DC's
Yeah.
merch has always been lacking, man.
Yeah.
But the Tree Lobster shirts were iconic. So I usually like to start my interviews with a little icebreaker joke. So, like, for instance, when I interviewed Tom King, I bought a veggie tray, just because that's what you do for a special occasion. But for you, I want to go a different direction, and I want to start off with an apology, actually. So here's why. My favorite character is Nightwing. We've talked about that, on social media. And I went to read the first issue of DCeased, and wow, Nightwing gets it rough in DCeased. Yeah. Nightwing gets rough in Injustice. And the other thing is, I feel like the whole evil Superman thing has been overused. And I listened to the Echo Chamber, and I thought that's what Injustice was. And then I read Injustice, and I'm like, dude, you love Superman. That's not an evil Superman. That's a Superman who's been hurt so deeply he makes all the wrong choices. So, and then
it's a writer who was hurt so deeply by having to write that I was empathizing with him and just saying no at every single thing I was writing. Like, no, don't do it, Superman. Yeah.
Anyway. So you have a deep love for these characters that I love so deeply. And I wish I would have read Injustice sooner. I wish I would have gone past issue 1 of DCeased sooner. You know what I mean? But I have a deep love for these characters, and sometimes it was like hard to see them in unfortunate situations. But your Nightwing run was written with such hope and love and respect that I was like, okay, maybe I go back and forget, and start giving all of his stuff a shot. So that was my discovery into your work.
I appreciate it, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm glad.
So
don't believe all the negativity. The internet is entirely negativity. And
yes. And as
weirdly gave people, horrific things happening, but it was because it was the time of the New 52. It was sometimes, for some people, it was the only place they were seeing characters they'd grown up with, even if they were doing terrible things.
Yeah. And I feel like in all your stories, Injustice, a lot of bad things happen. DCeased, there's a lot of darkness, but your stories always have a light of hope through them and a love and respect for these characters. So I guess my first question would be, do you like writing these Elseworld stories where you can put the characters in any directions more than an in-continuity story? Or do you prefer an in-continuity story, like something where, like your Nightwing run that was in canon? Like how do you approach writing those differently?
Look, it's not a satisfying answer, but I like both. Like sometimes, sometimes I love being able to create a universe, whether that's Dark Knights of Steel or DCeased or Injustice or Dark Ages over at Marvel. And sometimes you appreciate having the guardrails. Like when it's your universe, if you make a mistake, no one tells you. They're like, hey, Tommy, you sure you want to kill off that character? Because you might want to use them later. That kind of thing. And that certainly happened on Injustice more than once.
Whereas you killed off some characters and they came back in their own way.
Yeah. Look, I brought the ones back that I was told I had to kill, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna sneak these back, like Black Canary and Green Arrow, and Nightwing in a way when I made him Deadman, Deadwing. So yeah, look, and you do sort of go against the grain, and you do try and bring these things back when it's your own universe. You have a bit more room to play with, but writing with guardrails is sometimes great, and writing in continuity, writing a book like Nightwing or New Wolverine, like writing these big epic, like having these characters as essentially yours for years at a time, and really being able to steer them in a way that you hope fans will enjoy, and in a way that is right for the character. It's a great honor. So, basically I have fun almost every time I go to write any comic book. When I get an offer of my job, my answer is almost like, yes, please. I'm a fan,
Yeah, and I think that's true. Like I feel like reading one of your Elseworld stories, whether it's Dark Knights of Steel, Injustice, DCeased, you have such a good job of twisting a character in a way you've never expected them through, and then you'll give like a little wink of like, this is something that's so true to the character that it's still true in this Elseworld story, that it just feels so satisfying. So I guess when you approach a character, like for some of your most characters that you reuse through DCeased, Injustice, did you always know what the one core thing was that was going to stay the same and what you were going to twist? Like, how do you know what you need to keep the same?
I think when I come to write any character, because I've grown up with these characters, because I've read so many comic books, because I've watched Justice League Unlimited, because
Mhm.
because I've watched every movie, because I grew up with Superman 1978 and Batman 89 and Batman the Animated Series, and like all of these things, their voices are just kind of lodged in there, and their perfect voice, or the way I view them, is always in the back of my mind. So going against something that I feel like is wrong for the character is very difficult for me. So to this day, like I've barely ever written Wonder Woman. Like I don't say that the Wonder Woman in Injustice is not Wonder Woman to me. It's like I
Mhm.
can't reconcile what the game wants her to do or what's in the
Yeah.
game with this character. So I just have to write someone else, you know?
That's why. Is
Uh,
that why you took her off the board for a period of time?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
It was a really difficult thing. Sort of turning her into that Lady Macbeth character
Yeah.
was not just didn't work for me, and I've never liked Wonder Woman and Superman together, so that didn't work for me either. So I was
Yeah.
just like,
That's a
okay,
little.
well,
That's yeah.
this isn't Wonder Woman, and I'll just write the character as it's portrayed. But in the back of my head, I'm going, I
It's
can't
it's
reconcile these two things. Yeah.
it's weird. I could never imagine I don't like Superman and Wonder Woman, but when you wrote Wonder Woman and Supergirl together, I was like, why did that fit so well? You know what I mean? Like in Dark Knights of Steel, that felt way more organic.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um,
I mean, she's there. I think because of who they were in the book as well. In that universe,
yeah.
these two essentially, princesses with a lot of responsibility on their shoulders who found each other, and that star-crossed lovers thing of two kingdoms coming together, but literally two worlds coming together.
Yeah.
They work together really well, and just the way they support each other and didn't take crap. They didn't believe in old traditions, and we ally with these people simply because we always have, rather than evaluate whether this war is just. They had a lot of shared values in Dark Knights of Steel.
So one thing that's fun is I run marketing for a company called Panel Bound Comics. We're one of the largest e-commerce retailers just for collected editions. So we pretty much sell anything. We sell some standard size hardcovers, but it's pretty much anything deluxe or up to Taschens and Absolutes and all the crazy big formats. So because of that, I can sponsor a giveaway. So what we'll do is we'll give away a couple of your books to the people watching. So everyone comment this exactly how I'm writing, hashtag tree lobster, and we'll pick a couple giveaway winners. We'll give away maybe a copy of Injustice and a copy of DCeased. So
Yeah,
to continental United States, just because shipping is the killer, right? So
absolutely.
anyone feel free to comment hashtag tree lobster. There we go. We got people commenting in. Um, so talk to me about when you first got the call about Injustice, about the what was and like what was that like as someone who loves these characters so much that this is a world that like you had to follow, you could write your own thing because it was 5 years behind, but also it had to eventually line up to what the games were doing. What was that like?
Look, it was kind of a poison chalice. It was a classic monkey's paw wish thing that this was the first time I was ever going to get a chance to write my heroes, and particularly like Superman is my hero. Like it's just that
Mhm.
simple. It has been since I was a child. Superman and Lois Lane. When I met my wife, she was a crime journalist. Like she literally was
Oh
Lois Lane.
wow.
And so to get this thing, I literally, and they're like, and Superman turns bad, and he has to,
No.
and you have to find a way for him to kill Lois Lane and their unborn child. I'm like, what? I remember I literally called my mom and I'm like, Mom, they want me to do this. I get to write Superman, but it's this. And I just knew I had to give it my all and show them what I could do. I was actually hired for 15 chapters. That's as long as they thought it was going to run. And in the end, I wrote 150 chapters in that first year
Yeah.
of Injustice outsold Batman, and suddenly we were off. And yeah, and so I just did show them as much as I could and hoped that my love for the characters would come through despite the situation.
My cat just jumped up on the desk. Hi, buddy.
Yeah,
Not
my
the
dog.
one named Grayson, the one named Vader.
No, that's good.
I did,
Try
like
to
I
bring
told you, I
Star
think
Wars by time.
I did name my cat Grayson after your Nightwing run because my wife wasn't gonna allow us to name our cat Dick, but Grayson, and he's gray, so it was a compromise, right?
But, yeah.
Um, so I guess my question is, when you read comics, because we're a collected editions comic, is there a specific format that you enjoy? Do you like reading single issues? Are you more of like you like something big and oversized? Like what kind of format do you, or are you a digital reader?
So I have my omnibuses aren't behind me, they're in my room. I have a lot of omnibuses and I never read them. I just collect them to have them sitting there.
That's like most of our customers. Don't clip that.
Yeah. I generally like it in trade or hardcover. I do love the absolute editions. Like if I can get something like Superman for All Seasons or All Star Superman, like I've got all of those in as the big oversized absolute editions. I love it, and I think a deluxe edition is possibly my favorite size
Yeah.
for reading anything. It's just that slightly oversized. You can see the art really well. It's nicely,
But still manageable.
Yeah, still manageable, not too heavy, and yeah, I'm a big fan of those.
Because I don't you don't currently have an absolute edition. Do you have one? Like if you could pick, DC came to you, they said, Tom, we're going to make your first absolute edition. Do you have an idea what you would pick? Like, because I feel like Suicide Squad could work well. I feel like Dark Knights of Steel would be awesome. So do you have one that you would want to see in the absolute size?
I mean, both of those being 12 issues would be great.
Yeah.
Dark Knights of Steel or Suicide Squad Bad Blood. But hello, Cat's Tail. But I mean, look, if it was anything, it's probably going to be Nightwing, simply because of how beloved that book is by so many Nightwing fans. You know, and it went with Bruno's art, and you know, it would make sense.
I feel like it's hard though when it's a longer run like that, like because sometimes they do the Grant Morrison route where they're like, we'll collect or the Scott Snyder route where they're like, we'll collect some of it, but not all of it. So it's like having to decide like what would be collected when it's a longer run like that. It's so much safer to just be like all of Dark Knights of Steel, you know what I mean? Exactly. But I would love to see. It's this weird thing where I feel like most things that are definitive enough to be a compact classic, like you've got several coming up now, also deserve to be an absolute, which there's such polar end of the spectrums. You know what I mean? But if it's something that's designed that anyone can buy it at an airport and read it and love it, it could also maybe work as an absolute edition because it's that definitive, you know? So, I guess that's my thing. So the next part of the game that I like to play is, my gosh, he's trying to take attention. So I pulled some panels, some pages of your work. You know, this might be hard to see because you're on your phone.
I'll see.
If I put a panel up, will you be able to see it? Let me see.
I'll find out. I might have to like pinch and zoom or something.
So what I like to do is show you some of my favorite panels of your work and just see if you have any context or a fun behind the scenes story or anything regarding to that. Can you see that at all?
I can see that. And so this was one of those ones that like so much of this is Bruno. Like I described this as a splash page where we see a young from memory. So that young Dick Grayson from the Flying Graces leaping and becoming up all the way up to the current costume at the time. And then Bruno turned that into this. I did not call for this to be 1, 2, 3, 4, you know, however many panels, and the way he broke it up, nor the leap afterwards. Like I always thought it was just going to be a dive. And it's one of those things that Bruno hands that in, and you just go, well, great. Thank you.
So there was a lot of more experimental issues, and I have some panels such as one of my favorite, the one where you could put them all together left to right. Was that all just Bruno flexing what they wanted to do, or was that stuff architectured in some way?
This was actually one of those ones. I think this is actually the most collaborative comic, like single issue I've ever been a part of. Like from concept through to like, I think Bruno and I decided we wanted to do this in about 2019, possibly before we were even on Nightwing. Like we were in Paris somewhere and we were talking, we were having a beer and just saying, I've always wanted to do this thing. And I was like, I've always wanted to do that. And then when Nightwing came along, from the moment we were like, that is where we will do this. And then
Yeah.
it was so difficult. I mean, just the page you're showing right there, this is where I had to work. So to start off, it was literally Bruno and I Skyping with our iPads, and I was drawing buildings and drawing ways that we could bring the characters forward as they walk along, and having discussions. Like Bruno was like, "Oh, and then we can show the motorbike coming up out of the thing, and the doors open, and then the motorbike's there." I'm like, "No, we can't. Like, we can't show cause and
Yeah.
effect. We can't show a closed door and an open door. It's only." So there are all these things we kept learning on the fly as we were creating this book. But in this instance, like where all those captions lie in that fight scene, like I was on with Wes, like literally moving them by millimeters, so that because all of that, the words in that are actually juxtaposed with the action there. And if ever those
Yeah.
cat boxes were out of whack by just a little bit, it didn't work. And
Yeah.
just learning to follow the eye line of all of this book, like there were times when we had to lead, like there'll be a car screeching around a corner, and we'd have to draw the screech so that the next thing you read is that thing. I mean, yes, so much of this is Bruno. Like this was Bruno's baby for sure. But everything we all had to do, and that includes Jess Chan, the editor, like we had to fine tune this one and find a different language. And I wrote every single thing in this. Like I did hand Bruno a
Yeah.
script for this. And we had to find a simple story. It couldn't be complex. It had to be something that was taken that we could chase. It couldn't be any more complicated than that, and things would fall down.
Yeah. That's awesome. It gave me the vibe in Tom and Mitch's Mr. Miracle. They're one that they wrote like a side-scrolling video game where they're breaking into the compound. It was like that, but on a whole other level, because you literally could, like in one of my videos talking about it, I got the scans of each page and I put them all left to right, and I had like the camera pan from, and it flows perfectly.
I actually think Bruno, I think he was doing the whole thing on his iPad, on his Pro, and he literally drew the thing as one giant long thing. So it was all together for him as well.
See,
I think the
why
processing
doesn't
power.
DC sell a print of it? That would be
Oh,
such.
we've asked them a million times, and basically there's no one that prints it. Like there's no one, I don't think, in America, or that's easy to access. They have made a giant oversized accordion print of this in Spain, which we all have copies of.
Send me the digital file so I can get one printed for myself. I won't sell it, I promise. We'll do.
Yeah, it's amazing to pull that out. Like to just I'm on one end and Bruno's on the other, and we just walk away from each other until we're holding this entire thing, and it looks fantastic.
I was trying to do the math. I was like, would I be a horrible person if I bought? Because you'd have to buy, I think, 2 copies of the omnibus to get the pages, and I'm like, that would be horrible. Everyone on the internet would hate me if I did that to try to make my own oversized version. We'll do one last one from Nightwing. On the other end of the spectrum, another experimental issue, the POV issue. So talk to me about this one.
This was, I'm trying to remember where we came up. I think we came up with that in Madrid, myself and Jess and Bruno, and I actually I borrowed it from a friend of mine, Jay Christoph, who came in and did an issue he did an 8-page or a 10-pager in the annual, and there was a point where he was talking about maybe doing Haley as a POV. And later, and that didn't happen. I was like, man, I'd like to do an entire issue of that. Like, I just think that would be amazing. And particularly Nightwing, because of how acrobatic he is, because of the levels, because he's at the street view, because he's in the air. Like, I just think this could be incredible with the cityscapes. And this was probably one of the hardest things I've ever written. Because this was one of those ones where this wasn't something that Bruno could run with. I had to actually describe every single panel for this to work. And it kind of broke my brain, because I'm like, oh no, you can't see that. We can't do that unless we show a mirror image of that moment. Like, we can't see the expression of the person talking. We can't, this one was hard, really, really hard to write. And it looks effortless as you read it. But it really was one of the trickiest things I've ever written. But we had such a great time with it, and of course Bruno nailed it. And it was one of those things that I think we worked out at one stage. Like, Bruno came to me and said, I think we have to do everything widescreen, which means we can only do 3 panels a page, and if we ever want to do a splash, it has to be double page to be in that same format, basically. So that was another complication, but it all worked.
It feels to me like It feels to me like you got to do anything you wanted to do on that Nightwing run to a degree, and like it almost makes up for all the bad things you had to put Nightwing through. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, if you read, I think I wrote that introduction in the Nightwing Omnibus, which is me explaining to all the people who thought I hated Nightwing prior to that that actually know, I love Nightwing, and you're holding an omnibus-sized love letter to the guy. But
Yeah.
proven my point. Uh,
And I think it was so good because what was happening with the character of Nightwing at the time, with the whole Rick Grayson stuff, and I won't dive into what Tom initially pitched for that during that time, but like Rick Grayson was, I think, one of the few things universally hated by comic fans. You know what I mean? And you came in and saved us from that. Like
Yeah, I think it was one of those things that, like, I understand what Tom had envisioned for it for sure. And I'm sure we probably can't talk about it openly, but there was
yeah,
some cool ideas in there. And look, there was some stuff in the Rick Grayson stuff, because obviously I went back and read it and I went, like, these were good issues. Like, there was some cool stuff here. I think it just ran for too
yeah,
long,
yeah. If it had
you
been
know?
shorter, but how it was a long time for an amnesia arc. I think people would have been okay with, but like I don't
Yeah.
need a whole big Rick omnibus of amnesia stuff.
Yeah, no, it was really difficult. And it's just difficult because I think, myself included, as a Nightwing fan, we were kind of tired of seeing Nightwing kicked around. Like, all of us who are Nightwing fans know that he's an A-lister who belongs on the same
Mhm.
pedestal as
Yeah,
Batman and Wonder Woman and Superman. And the perfect thing for me was, at that time, DC were up for me and Bruno to do that, to put him back on that pedestal that he belongs on, and that was all part of my first pitch. I said, "Yeah, I'd love to write Nightwing, but I want to make him an A-lister again. I want to show everybody, every fan, why he belongs there and why
yeah,
this guy should run the DC universe."
exactly. Because to me, he's everything that Batman could have been, you know what I mean? And more so. And I think that's what makes him so special is that Batman did everything he could to not only not have Nightwing or Dick Grayson turn into him, but turn into someone better than him.
Yeah,
And I think
absolutely.
it's awesome. Random question I've always been curious about. So if I remember correctly, you guys did a voting contest for what Haley's name was going to be, right?
Yeah.
Did you secretly have one that you hoped to win, and was it Haley, or was there a different name that you were
It was
secretly?
always Haley. We always
That's
hoped it was going to
awesome.
be Haley. Yeah, I mean, it made the most sense, and
Yeah,
we always knew that we had Bitewing up our sleeve.
yeah,
So that was all good. But I was very happy when Haley won.
that's awesome. So we'll do a more recent one. Um, I have to be honest, because I'm a collected editions reader, I'm usually behind. So I haven't read the rest of your Detective Comics run yet, as I'm waiting for, a deluxe or an omnibus. But everyone told me, you got to read that. You got to read 1100. You got to read 1100. And oh my God, that book was amazing. Like it made me break my rule, and I went to a comic shop and bought a single issue that I don't know what to do with. But I loved this issue.
Yeah, look, it was incredibly special, and there are issues that you write and you've struck gold. Like, I don't know if you ever read the Spider-Bite issue of Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man that I wrote, that makes many, many grown people cry. It's issue 6 of Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, or the Father's Day Batman annual. There are these issues you write, and as you're writing them, you go, "Oh, this is gonna work. This is
Yeah,
just you just like." It was one of those ones. I talked about how hard that POV issue was to write. I think I wrote this one in 2 days. Like,
that's
sometimes
awesome.
it just felt right the whole way through. And looking up all the ASL, and then of course we had somebody, we had a reader for that, sensitivity reader, and somebody who knew ASL testing all of that. But just knowing, look, I'm working with Mikkel on this, and I know he's gonna put this at another level. Because you're
Yeah,
relying. This is a story that wouldn't work without an incredible artist, and
yeah.
luckily, Kel is an incredible artist. But yeah,
And
look,
for
it's a
yeah, for
beautiful story.
context, yeah, for those who haven't read this is the story of Batman helping a little boy find his missing dog. And
Yeah,
it's just, why has no one ever written that before? That's crazy. That's like such a gold concept.
it was kind of hilarious because I think the thing that took me the longest of this comic and this story was just searching the internet to see if this had ever happened before. Like reading wikis and going back through old Batman comics, like, really? This has never been done? Okay, good. Because I had that
That's
final
awesome.
image of the last page, which we won't spoil for people that haven't read it, but I always had
Yeah,
that from the moment I thought of this. I'm like, oh man, and this could be a thing he's
yeah.
done. Yeah.
It was it was awesome. I guess we'll do one or two more. This one I think is good because of some other art that has been shown recently, but I feel like this page is just iconic, like one of the most iconic pages I feel like you've written.
Yeah. Yes, this is DCeased after the fall of Metropolis, where Lex shows up and Superman's ready to throw down, and Lex Luthor just says, "No, I'm not here to fight."
Yeah.
Look what they did. Look what happened to our city. It's a moment of these two rivals coming together in their shared sadness. And
Oh, I get chills even just hearing you talk about it. I get chills,
yeah,
man.
look, this
It's
is one of those things that DC gave gave me as well. Like I was able to do things in this book and test characters in ways that they'd never been tested before. And it was one of those things because I hate zombies. Like I'm not a horror fan at all. I'm a fantasy fan, which is why I love Dark Knights of Steel, but I'm not a horror fan. So to me, this was an opportunity
hold
to
on. Let me
just
delete my question that said what horror movies influenced
oh,
DC. Let me delete.
trust me, I have horror movies that influenced it. Don't worry. When I say I'm not a horror fan, I am a bit, um,
Yeah.
but I'm far more a fantasy fan. But what Deceased was for me was basically the question of what do the heroes do when they lose everything, when the Earth is lost. What do the heroes do, and what is left? And what was left, of course, was hope. This is the thing to pull hope out of this absolute dumpster fire of a
Yeah.
situation, and to never lose that no matter what was happening, and to not see these characters bend or buckle, especially Superman. The yeah, the pages that destroyed me were Superman saying, well, in particular Superman saying goodbye to his son. Like that was
Mm.
just one of those pages that as soon as Trev handed it in, I was just like, yep, you got it.
When you conceptualize Deceased, because I feel like it's one of those ones like Injustice where did you always know it was going to be more than just one story? Because I feel like it builds, and then there's such an amazing ending that rewards you for holding on to that hope throughout the entire story. And did you always know it was going to end like that, or did you not? Did you think it was just going to be Deceased, the original story?
I did. I remember after the first 2 or 3 issues sending the editor at the time, Ben Abernathy, sending him something just saying, and then of course there's this, and then of course in the third book, War of the Undead Gods, Darkseid has to come back. He's like, "Oh, what?" I'm like, anyway, but we didn't know if
Yeah,
we would get there. We didn't know. Again, this was one of those ones that was a sleeper. People didn't expect this to sell. The stories I heard about the room when they got the sales figures in and jaws dropped. Like the first issue I think sold 260,000, and it was the #1 seller for DC that year. And it was just me and Ben Abernathy, and Ben wasn't even really an editor at the time of the company. Like, yes, he'd been an editor of Wildstorm, but this was a
yeah,
passion project for him. And just this is the vision of Ben. He's such a great. He just has great ideas, and then suddenly we're off, and it was variant covers, and it was
yeah.
everything else we were doing. But it was yeah, it was one of those things. I started writing this thing, and I didn't really want to write it, and then it just poured out of me, and I was sending Ben idea after idea after idea at 4 a.m. and 5 a.m. And then this can happen. He's like, "What?" Yeah, and we're just bouncing. It was great.
It's awesome because it's not just about holding on to hope even when you lose, but one of my favorite things DC has ever done is the Tomasi Super Sun stuff. And this
Yep.
is such, I think you even talk about in your forward how like you knew it had to be the Super Sons that were like the central core characters to this. And to me, like I feel like a lot of fans didn't like what happened to the Super Sons character, and this was like a good palate cleanser for me. Like a
It
good
was.
cathartic end for them, I guess, if that makes any sense.
You can literally thank my son for that. My eldest son, who's now a lot older, but at the time he was reading Super Sons and I wasn't. I hadn't picked it up yet, and he literally came to me with all the trades which I bought for him, but I just hadn't gotten around to reading yet. And he said, "Dad, you have to read this, and Damien and John have to be in DCeased."
That's
So
awesome.
thank you, child who is now 19 years old. But yeah, it
That's
was a
awesome.
great input, and of course I read them, cover to cover before I started writing, and made sure I had their voices, and went, I knew Damien really well, but I didn't
Yeah.
know John yet. And yeah, and working out that this is the actual legacy tale, that by book 3 they are going to be Superman and Batman.
Yeah.
So much of this book relies on that.
Dude, the ending of DCeased, like it's so hopeful, but it also kills me. You know what I mean? It's
Good.
a lot.
Yeah.
We'll do one last panel, and then what I'll do is I'll upload some images because I can only upload 10 images at a time. We'll put some images of C.O.R.T up so we can talk
Yeah.
about C.O.R.T.
That's good.
Talk to me about your dream villain team in DCeased Unkillables.
So, look, for anyone who doesn't know DCeased Unkillables, I said before, DCeased is the story of what do the heroes do when the world is lost, and this was the story of what do the villains do. And this was one of those books. Again, it was just one of those things that came together. We knew we wanted more DCeased. I had more story to tell, but this was never going to be DCeased 2. This was going to be DCeased adjacent. This wasn't the second part of the story. This was just another story in the same universe. And yeah, we put this villainous team together that just worked absurdly well. I'd never written the Creeper before. I'd never thought to put Solomon Grundy in a Tree Lobsters t-shirt waving little flags. And Shiva, but I think my favorite part of all of this is Deathstroke and Commissioner Gordon becoming the fathers to an orphanage.
Yeah.
And like a married couple about it, and having sort of this weird respect for each other. And yeah, look, I had a ball with this book, and Cheetah just stole this every time. That child who adored her and gave her pats. It was just a good time.
I was trying to make a video, or was conceptualizing a video, because a lot of my channel is geared towards getting new readers into collected editions, because a lot of times people who don't know comics don't even know collected editions are as big of a thing as they are. So I was trying to think, because there's a lot of rumored DCU movies, and one of them is a I think a Bane and Deathstroke movie has been rumored. Nothing's been confirmed. And I was trying to think, is there any comic that has both of them in it? And then I was like, wait, DCeased and Killables, but I could not recommend that to, like, that's nowhere near going to be what the movie is. You know what I mean? But like, I can't think of any other comic that has had Bane and Deathstroke in it together.
But I look, it's funny for a lot of people. People I know, like lots of my friends just don't read my stuff. They're like, no one, we know you too well. We don't want to read your work. But the ones who've read this are like, Tom, that's my favorite thing of yours we've ever read, and it's DCeased Unkillables. And I've heard that from more than one mate.
So my next question, and what we'll do is I'll give you a little bit of time to think about it, and we'll hit some of the comments in the live chat, is if DC came to you and said, we're going to put together a tabletop RPG, fantasy RPG of Dark Knights of Steel, which character would you choose to play as, and like what would be like, and what would be their class? So we'll hit some comments while you think, because I'm asking because you said you're a fantasy fan, so I'd imagine there's a little bit of I feel like Dark Knights of Steel could work as an awesome tabletop RPG.
Yes, no, trust me, I've told them this. Look, we actually did this thing on the first 3 or 4 covers. I think the first 4 covers where we had the D&D character sheets for 4 characters. I think it was Harley Quinn, Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman. And the Harley Quinn one was, she's a bard, and it was just perfect, with the loot and
That's awesome.
I think I'd play Harley just because I think she's the most fun character possibly in all of the DCU, or John Constantine. Actually, he's great.
Oh,
Dark Knights of Steel as well. It's the mage, like there, one of those two. Definitely.
I almost want to put together like just a one-time live stream with some of my other comic book YouTube friends where we try to role play a game of Dark Knights, because I'm trying to think, like, there's that famous Watchmen RPG I was like trying to put together, but now Dark Knights of Steel would work so much better. You know what I mean? Yeah. So let's hit some of the comments really fast. Tom is one of my favorite writers, one of the best world builders in the business. amazing interview guest. Wow.
Thank you. Thank you.
And then, as much as I loved the Supergirl Wonder pairing in Dark Knights of Steel, the meet cute of Green Arrow and Black Canary was too perfect and made them the best couple. Honestly, through reading all three of like your big Elseworld stories, how have you not written a Green Arrow Black Canary title yet?
I don't know. I think there was this point where I was super busy, and then suddenly Josh Williamson was launching one with Sean Isaacs, and I was like, ah, man, that was, one day for sure. I would love to write a Green Arrow and Black Canary. I love those characters, and I feel like I know them backwards. And I do have figures of both of them over there and a statue of Green Arrow. Um, yeah, I adore them, and I love. They're just such a great pairing, and they work so well. Again, that's how they work so well in Dark Knights of Steel when they both meet in a jail. And yeah, it was it's great to write them again. And I did almost write another thing with them, but it fell through basically because of my schedule.
Yeah. I can't wait for the Injustice Compendium Volume 2.
Ooh, is that happening?
Yeah, that is happening. You know what hasn't happened yet that a lot of us in the collected, I guess I know that writers aren't always in the know of what's going on. We need to get a deluxe edition of Year Zero. Because we have all the Omnis and there's no oversized format of Year Zero. They never included it on the Omni. So that's one that I think would sell. And I think, speaking as someone who's into the world of collected editions, they just announced Injustice 3 video game as of like a week ago. So I would
announced or rumors of.
I believe it's been announced that the next game that they're coming out with is Injustice 3 and not a Mortal Kombat. That's what was told to me by people, but external forces, like if James Gunn says these books are worth reading or a video game of Injustice, that pushes the books like crazy. So an Injustice Year Zero, I think, would be a really appreciated collected edition.
Yeah, look, I really like that story. I mean, I think I partly like that story because I got to write so much of it not being tainted by Injustice. It was why the Joker went after Superman in the first place, was that story. But Superman was truly Superman in that book. Batman was truly Batman, and then we had the JSA characters, and Injustice Year Zero is a good time.
I feel like you did a similar thing in Dark Knights of Steel where you have the flashback issue, and that was my favorite issue in the book, where you get to see like how he met the Robins or him training with Bane, Kingsbane. Like that was my favorite issue in the book. Because I just love that world. I haven't read. I know that there's other stories in the Dark Knights of Steel world. I haven't read those yet. I think
so the next thing is Dark Knights of Steel All-Winter. So if you like the one about the Robins, that was written by Jay Kristoff, who is a New York Times bestseller. He's got a massive book series called Empire of the Vampire at the moment, which is one of the biggest fantasy books on the shelves. And he wrote a Deathstroke book set in Dark Knights of Steel called All-Winter.
I remember the cover. He looks almost, I want to say Nordic or something. Like
it looks like
intense. Yeah.
Well, and it's very, very cool. And
has that been a deluxe yet, or is it just a standard size hardcover?
I think it's just a standard sized hardcover.
Okay.
So, yeah.
It's the amount of times it's hard because like being in what I do, I try to balance that. Like if a writer I love does a single issue or I'll try to support it at the shop, but my audience and what I do for a living is all collected editions. So it's like, I can't even tell you how many times I'll buy like all the standard side hardcovers, and then the deluxe gets announced, and I'll buy all the deluxes, and then the Omni gets announced, and then I'm like, I live in California, man. I don't have a lot of space. I'm capped out on space if you can't tell from behind me.
It's this shelf is just me, but all through my house and my bedroom and over that side of my study is all everything else I buy. I went to the comic store with my kids on Father's Day and walked out $300 worth of books, and that's just what you do,
That's awesome, man. I try to live by when I interviewed Mark Waid, he also lives in California. He said, my advice for you is my own advice. Buy more books, don't buy any more shelves. And I try to live where it's like sometimes now if I want to get something, I have to either do giveaways or cull the collection in some way. But a lot of just love pouring for you in the chat. Tom,
Oh,
thank you
thank
so
you.
much for the love and care you've put into your characters. I'm finding that every take you have becomes my favorite version by the end. Is there any more work coming for John?
That is very sweet. I'm not entirely sure. I hope you did check out Secret Six, which Nicole Maines has just done with Steven Segovia. It was very, very cool. And Jay was in there as well, obviously, and Dreamer and Catman. There's some cool stuff there. But I think I guess I can't confirm anything, is what I'll say.
Yeah.
I believe there is more coming for John.
Let me start uploading these. I got a couple panels from court. So let's chat about court. So you obviously love fantasy. You've talked
Yeah.
about that. What made you want to tell an all ages story in the fantasy setting?
Look, if you know my other work, I do a lot of all ages stuff. So I have the Deep TV series, which we've
Yes,
done.
which actually we got a question from a friend of my channel saying, "Is there any more of the Deep
Is there going to be
coming?"
a season 5? Yeah, Deep. Yeah, I don't. I can't confirm anything. What I can say, we're currently working on a MetaQuest 3 game, VR for the Deep. There are other things going on the sidelines that I'm not at liberty to talk about. Season 5 has been a bit hard to get happening. This is a bit sad, but our script editor passed away after season 4, and a lot of the work that we did, it was he and I working together for about 7 years. And the producer,
so sorry,
Avril,
man.
no. Yeah, these things happen. I mean, it was tragic, and we really miss him. But I think it knocked us for a little while, and we all had a hard time sort of envisioning doing this without him. But there's certainly more deep related things coming, and I'm sorry that that's so vague and cryptic. But yeah, there is
Don't
stuff
worry,
that
I'm not.
Yeah.
You seem very secretive. When I think I posted about some of the not the leaks, but like when people like to go to the catalog before it gets to Penguin and try to pull what's coming out, and I never know like when a writer's allowed to be like, I don't know if that's coming, even though we have the listing already.
Oh yeah, look, I mean, it's different when it's TV and movies and stuff. Because
yeah, I know it's way more secretive. Yeah, I'd imagine it's a lot more litigious.
Yeah, more NDAs, I'll say that.
Yeah,
than there are in comic books. But look, I love that, and I've written Neverlanders and The Deep, and Children of the Round Table, and yeah, I love this book, and I love Danny L.A.'s art. I just think it's incredible with Rain Barreto's colors, who colored Deceased as well, and Injustice Year Zero. Actually, such a good colorist. But yeah, look, this book, Children of the Round Table, it is properly all ages. It is one of those things that I think every adult will probably love. But if you have any kids in your life, or you have friends who have kids, and you're like, I want to indoctrinate these children to comics now, let this be their gateway. Children of the Round Table does that. It is one of those books, quite manga influenced, obviously, but
yeah. You got Talking Weapons. I feel like that's very manga influenced.
Sorry.
I was gonna say, let's talk about the characters on this page right here. Do you want to give me a little? You want to give our audience a little explanation of who these characters are?
Sure. So you have Ash there, who is our very cynical, very tall girl. She'd be the Rosa Diaz in Brooklyn Nine-Nine kind of character. You have Randall and Kelly, the twins there. You've got Connor right up the back there, who is our very surly. He has quite the past that we only sort of hint at, coming through a bit of trouble, and currently living with his grandma. You've got the incredibly effervescent Kevin there, and you've got Hanan, and they're all talking to Fel, who's kind of the leader of the band, but really this is a group of kids that everybody's kind of the leader. But Connor and Fel are kind of the main characters. They are the ones. Shall I spoil this comic for people who may not know what's coming? I say
let's go for it. And here's the thing. A lot of our audience is collected edition fans. I read the first issue. I got a preview copy through Lunar, and read it. That way I could help you do a video on it. I don't have kids in my life. I'm a cat dad, but I had fun reading the story. I feel like the first issue is a lot of setup. You know what I mean? A lot of like the quest is beginning. You get to see their life before the quest, and then they're begrudgingly going to start the quest. So I feel like we can talk about the first issue without, because it really sets the tone for what's coming. I don't feel like there's much things that could be spoiled in that first issue.
No, so like issue 2 is when sort of the heart begins and we start seeing more of the characters and the mysteries really start to build. But basically, a rock crash lands near these.
That was perfect timing. I didn't know you were going to say that.
Rock crash lands, starts rolling down a hill towards them. They're all screaming and they're running from the rock. And then you may have the next page as well. I don't know.
Hold on, let me hurry. Let me see. Now there's pressure on me, man. Are we talking about? Let's see. I have the one where.
Yeah, we can. We'll do it. Look, it's out tomorrow. We could. I don't mind. And I have talked about it in interviews and stuff. So this is Fel defending her friends, and she's like,
"The last one I have is the sword."
That's what I figured. And she turns around, and in the middle of this meteor is a sword. And what happens is Connor and Fel trek up there. Connor can't pull out the sword, but of course Fel can. She pulls out the sword, and this is where the story that everyone knows changes completely. And what happens after that is the rock lights up and it explodes, and out of it explodes weapons. And one weapon falls to each of these children. And
well, a couple weapons and then a stick.
And then a stick. That's right. Yeah, Kevin gets a stick, which is even sadder because what happens next is the sword starts talking, and inside the sword is Arthur Pendragon, King Arthur, no longer king. And then another sword says, "Oh, must you be so melodramatic?" And that's Lancelot. And then you have Gawain, and basically the Knights of the Round Table, the spirits of the Knights of the Round Table, are inside these weapons, and they are going to train these kids and work with these kids. And each weapon has a power of its own. So it's sort of a stealth superhero book as well as kind of a sequel to Arthurian tales.
Yeah, and it's a modern day fantasy story, which you clearly have a huge love for fantasy. So have you had this idea for a while? Is this one that you've been always wanting to tell?
I think I actually started writing this about 7 years ago. Wow. So yeah, I've had this for a long time, and then there was, I'd wanted it to get out there, and Danny LA was exactly the right artist, and then DC were actually up for doing a creator-owned at DC, a creator-owned middle grade, all new IP in a periodical.
I didn't know it was creator-owned. That's awesome, man.
Yeah, it's creator-owned. So, and that's the thing. Like, they've never really done this before, but not in this format. Like, we've seen it in straight to trade or straight to that middle grade format, but never as a periodical. So yeah, and I heard the sales figures yesterday and about issue 1, and I certainly can't talk about it, but we're very, very happy. Like
that's awesome.
What the book has received is really, really amazing. So thank you to everybody out there.
I think I saw you say on social that you guys in DC weren't sure how it was going to be received. Right?
No, because it hadn't been done before. That's the thing, and it's difficult to tell. Like, I don't know. Like, Neverlanders has been a massive book for me and John Somariva. Like, that book sold everywhere, and it's won awards in multiple countries, and it's done all this stuff. But I don't think it's ever really taken off in comic stores. And sometimes there is a hesitance with something that's viewed as younger readers for comic fans. But I'm like, man, like, just bring the next gen. Like, that's one of my, I think one of the reasons I keep doing this is because I don't want comics that are just for us, that we I want the next generation loving these as much as we do. And so that's why
you can love both things. Sometimes I want the Ed Brubaker, Sean Phillips, adult, gritty, new criminal, and other times I want something that I could give to my nephew or niece.
Exactly. But I also don't want it to be. But I want everything I write to be truly all ages, so that adults can enjoy it as well. But it just doesn't alienate younger people.
Let's do our first giveaway. How are we doing on time? Because it's late for you, right?
Yeah. I'm a late person. I work for America, so I tend to,
Okay.
I'll probably do some work after this. Don't stress too
So what do you want to give away first? Should we give away a DCeased omnibus or an Injustice omnibus?
Which Injustice is the first one or the second one?
Okay, I feel like we'll give away the first one. That way someone doesn't get stuck with issue 2. But we can give away whatever we want, man. Any of your books that are in.
We have just had the Injustice 2 omnibus came out like a month or 2 ago, so It's
Yeah.
actually that entire series of Injustice 2 is kind of cool. Not
Yes.
Injustice U2 or whatever, but the Injustice.
Yes. Okay. So up with this,
Yeah.
we'll give away Injustice Omnibus. You let me know if you're the winner. If you want Injustice 1, or if you already have Injustice 1, we'll give you Injustice 2. So you
Good
can
idea.
you can let me know. Courtesy of the fine. And I want to tell you one thing about Panel Bound Comics first. Our owner never wanted to start this business. During COVID, his wife was going to buy some Harry Potter books, and he goes, "Oh, I want to buy a comic book." He's never read a comic book before. And
Wow.
because he didn't want to, all he read was business self-help books, and he bought Injustice and DCeased, and your books started a global e-commerce collected edition seller that has had over 100,000 issues. His first 2 comics were DCeased and Injustice. So
Well, say hi to him for me and thank you. And
I will, man. You started a accidental business for him, because his whole thing was, if I get a reseller license, I can buy a cart of 4 books, sell 3, and keep 1 for myself. That's how he started, and now we've had over 100,000 orders globally.
Wow.
Okay,
Yeah.
let's do our first giveaway.
Okay.
Comment down below at the end of this video with a way for me to get a hold of you, and you can let me know if you want Injustice 1 or Injustice 2.
Congratulations.
And see, that's the whole reason I do what I do, is that my origin story is I loved the Bruce Timm verse, right? I love Justice League, Batman, all those ones, but I eventually I came to the end of it, and I wanted, they were nice. And my mom finally, I was going to church camp, and she said, you can get a book. And I go, can I get a comic book, a graphic novel? And she goes, sure. So she releases me at a Barnes and Noble, and I look and I see a cover of Superman holding a dead Batman on the cover. And I go, I'm buying that. Final Crisis should not be your first comic book. I love Final Crisis, but it should not. I was like 14 at the time, but like, how are you not going to choose that cover? You know what I mean?
I totally get what you mean. I remember coming back to comics as a teenager with Death of Superman for the same reason. Like, Death of Superman, I'm in. Yeah.
Dude, have you seen that the app with the special absolute edition for Death of Superman looks like?
The special.
Yeah, what is they're doing a DM variant of the Death of Superman absolute later this year, and it's like a giant tombstone.
Ah, nice. I was wondering if it's going to be the old red thing with the blood dripping down that they had in the blind bag. Yeah.
It looks wild, man. Cool. Let's see. Thank you all. Kind of funny. I just played the Injustice 2 video game last week for the first time. There we go.
Nice. My kids and I play that. Yeah. I'm a Green Arrow main, by the way. Yeah.
Nice. Okay, that's awesome. I remember so here's my confession. When I played Injustice, I wasn't a comic reader at the time. I just liked video games, and I skipped the cutscenes. And now that I've read Injustice, I want to go back and I don't really play video games much anymore, but I almost want to watch a YouTube video of all the cutscenes. You know what I mean? Right.
I am playing far too much Marvel Rivals at the moment. That is my.
Who's your Marvel Rivals main?
Well, I'm just about to get Jeff up to Lord, which I just had to do. I've got Wanda on Lord, I've got Invisible Woman on Lord, and I've got Iron Man on Lord. So those are my 4.
When I played, I liked Punisher and Winter Soldier and Squirrel Girl, because those were the easy characters, I feel like.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah. Now my son mains Winter Soldier. He loves it. Yeah, it's too good.
It took me 2 rounds of playing Squirrel Girl, and I was like ordering the Squirrel Girl omnibus, and I'm like, that book is huge.
Yeah.
Awesome. Is there anything we can talk? I know we can't get any scoops or anything like that, but is there anything we can talk about the crossover book that you're working on, the DC Marvel crossover story
with Wolverine and Nightwing? I mean, there's not much I can talk about except that I've seen the layouts. Bruno sent them yesterday, actually, and it's just, I don't know, it's happiness. I will say, I shouldn't say this too loudly, but this book is fan service. This is for fans of these 2 things. These are the characters I've written the most at both Marvel and DC coming together. So that is all new Wolverine, and their statues. And it is just, it's just nods for the fans of both those arcs and both those characters. Look, I will give you an exclusive. Here you
Okay,
go.
okay.
So I created a character called Gabby Kinney, Honey Badger in Wolverine, who is beloved and has gone on to appear in many, many X-Men comics and is still in comics today. And it's possible she may show up. So many
Okay.
people have asked me, so I'm just going to say,
That's awesome, man. I have a smaller Marvel collection. But I just DC, it's like when I read a DC book, it's like I'm reading a story in my own world. And when I read a Marvel book, it's like I'm reading a comic book of like the Marvel universe. But like
yep,
something about DC, I think it's because my DNA was built on the animated series universe that
yep,
like that to me is like a lot of my Marvel stuff is from the live action movies.
yep,
But I feel like DC just excelled so much at the animated movies and the TV shows. Even the live action, like CW stuff, was when I was in high school, and that was what I needed at that time, you know.
yeah,
So to me, DC, and also that's so hard, man. When you niche down in YouTube, so comics is a niche, and now I'm collected edition comics, which is a niche, and now my audience is like 90% DC, 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 and it's like, but I try to give some love to Image and creator owned stuff. I know you have your, I haven't read it yet, but I'm excited to dig into the new deluxe edition of Seven Secrets. So if
yeah.
there's
That's really
anything you want to talk about that series with, so because FOC for that one hasn't passed, and for those of you that don't know,
because I haven't promoted
Seven
it yet.
Secrets is currently up for pre-order on our website. If you pre-order before the FOC date, it's cheaper. So, and they're doing a beautiful deluxe edition and a slipcase deluxe edition.
Yeah, this will be my first ever slipcase. So I'm very excited. Seven Secrets. So Danny LA, who drew Children of the Round Table, was the artist of Seven Secrets. It's about seven secrets held by an ancient order, a holder and a protector, all in a briefcase, each secret. And it's kind of spies. Well, you think it's kind of a spy story and people who are out to get these seven secrets, but these seven secrets are things that can change the world. They are words, weapons, and worse. And it explodes. It becomes a much, much, much bigger story all the way
Yeah.
through. We love that book. It's about 18 issues, and yeah, coming as a stunning little slipcased deluxe
Those
edition coming December.
those
I think.
boom slipcase stuff are awesome.
Yeah,
They did
for
like
some
Something is Killing the Children. They
yeah,
did
yeah.
what's the Karen Gillian one? The King Arthur one.
Once in future.
Oh my god, Once in Future was so good.
Yeah.
I feel like
So
that'd be up your alley because of all the fantasy stuff.
it's kind of funny because I read the first trade of that and I own it. But because I knew I was writing this, I made sure not to read anymore, which I
Yeah,
often do
that's hard
because I
because
don't want to be
you don't want to
influenced.
get a cool idea and be like, shoot, I can't use that, you know?
And I also don't want to be influenced by someone else's
Yeah.
something. I don't want. Yeah, I don't. I prefer to have a fresh thought. Read.
I
Go back and read. The whatever who would be king and all of that sort of stuff. Right.
yeah.
Read the original source material, but try not to. Yeah, like I think there's a movie called The Kid Who Would Be King or something, and again, I haven't
Mhm.
seen that because I just didn't want to be influenced.
It's not the same on any level, but like if I haven't reviewed a book yet on my channel, I won't watch other people's reviews of it because like
Totally.
I'm so easily influenced. I see like a commercial and I'm like, I need that product. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I just I have to be good on that.
Yeah.
So I guess one of my questions would be you reused a lot of characters in Injustice that you reused in DCeased and that you reused in Dark Knights of Steel because you love them. Is there a couple characters that you felt like my Green Arrow in Dark Knights of Steel was my best Elseworlds Green Arrow, or Constantine in DCeased was my favorite? I did him best. Like, is there one or two characters that you reused through your different Elseworlds that you feel like that was my favorite one?
Look, I get the feeling I like Constantine anytime I write him, and I feel
Yeah,
like the Constantine in Deceased is very close to the Constantine in Injustice. Like
yeah,
I think they have a very similar attitude, which I enjoy, which is quite different from the Dark Knights of Steel one, but still there's aspects of him there for sure. I think the Green Arrow, Black Canary, and Injustice, just because of how much I got to write of them, and Harley Quinn, of course. Like
yeah.
those three in particular was sort of my most fun writing those characters and getting to marry Harley and Poison Ivy and Injustice U Zero. that sort of stuff was, it's a lot of fun, and getting to treat the Joker like a terrible thing and getting to torture him a bit. I always enjoy that.
That's awesome. He definitely deserves it. I loved
Yeah.
what you did with Black Canary and DCeased because I never thought of that, like how you take her character, but it weirdly, and also why do I want to read just a whole slice of life comic of the three of them camping and nothing even happens, nothing even super heroic. It's just give me a flashback issue of them having a good time camping.
Yeah, I hear you. That was in my original outline. Like in the original pitch was Hel and Ollie and Dinah all camping and what happens next. And yeah, and her becoming the Green Canary, and I've got the Funko Pop up there of that. And it was a whole lot of fun.
I also, I don't want to spoil anything, but in DCeased, I love what happens with Alfred because so much of that story, I feel like he feels like so much pain and so much powerlessness. And then to see a certain character with a mustache for the first time was just so funny.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, like it was a very cathartic thing writing that for Alfred after everything he'd gone through in the books before.
yeah, I mean, I feel like you did that in Injustice too. He gets a very cathartic moment too in Injustice,
He gets the headbutt,
right?
there's better. Yeah.
That's awesome, man. So for back to court, do you like how, like, is it something that's going to be, do we know if it's limited yet? Is it ongoing? Do you have like 100 issues plotted out? Like, is it, or are we just taking it issue by issue?
So because this is something that's never really been tried before, it is currently a 6-issue miniseries. If
Mhm.
it does well, I mean, this is a much, much bigger story than we get to tell in the 6 issues. Like, we tell a complete story, but we certainly hint at more at the end of it. And we tell a big, cathartic, cool story, but they're still kids at the end. And in my sort of perfect universe, and Danielle as well, like, what we'd love to do is have them grow up a year in every volume. Like, we'd like to do the
Oh, that's
version
awesome.
where we're still with them when they're like 20. And that's kind of our dream for this book, and for the material itself to age a little. So for it to go from sort of middle age to YA to, like, and start being able to test the boundaries a little bit and hopefully have an audience that gets to grow up reading it. But it all depends
Is
on
it
how
its
much
own self-contained universe or is it in the DC universe?
it's its own self-contained universe.
Got it.
Yeah,
Okay.
and lots of people have asked, and look, maybe one day I'll say, hey, I suppose like the Super Sons could show up and we could do a crossover for an issue, and have, Little John and Little Damien and have them show up. I'd have some fun with that.
Let's do our second giveaway. Should we give away the DCeased omnibus or the Nightwing omnibus?
Oh, that's a hard. I can't make this decision for you. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Like,
We'll
the
let
Nightwing
whoever
omnibus
wins.
is
You can choose.
beautiful.
You can.
Deceased
Yeah.
is huge, I will say. Yeah.
Yes. The Nightwing is such a good size. I felt like it because I don't need, like, I have every Taschen edition, so I love oversized books for the shelf. You know what I mean? But Nightwing is, and like the Grant Morrison Batman omnis, those are such, like, those are bigger than a deluxe, but still readable. And
I feel exactly the same way. Like, it still comes in at 600 and something or 700 pages, so it's huge.
yeah.
But it is, you pick it up and you go, I could actually read this, as opposed to a lot of, like, my Grant Morrison JLA or whatever, and I pick these things up and I go, oh my god, what am I, like, I can't read this. I'll go get my trade off the shelf. Yeah.
So for my YouTube channel, it's me and my best friend Jordan who do it. I'm sort of the Steve Jobs where I have conceptual ideas and I'm on camera, but my friend is Jordan is the cameraman, the videographer. He's just excels at, I give him an idea for what I want something to look like, and he makes the photo or the video look better than I ever could have imagined. How good did those Nightwing pictures turn out for your Nightwing omnibus that you shared on Instagram? That you and Bruno shared. It got like 10,000 likes. Dude, they looked gorgeous.
Was it the video I showed? I did a video on top of a friend building with, like, cranes in the background in the city, and it goes from light to dark to the sun to a sunset. I just chose the right time of day, and that got over 10,000 views and shared.
I'll show you a picture really fast. We did
Oh, the ones that you did. Yeah,
the ones that we did.
Yeah,
it was my friend Jordan, my partner Jordan. I want to give him a shout out. Those pictures were amazing, right?
Yeah, no, they're beautiful, and no, it was great and stunning, perfect Nightwing lighting as well. And look, the book just looks fantastic. It's just got this stunning spot plots, and Yeah, it's one of those books you go, well, I'm glad I own this. I'm even more
The
glad that I wrote it. But yeah,
the
I don't know
slipcase,
how
and
to.
I'll grab it to show it off. The slipcase is minimalistic, but the art on board is breathtaking. This is literally like this is like one of my favorite runs ever. Do you consider the Titans omnibus that's also been announced and up for pre-order? Do you consider that like a sequel?
No, I think it's all just part and parcel of the same thing. Like my mission was to make Nightwing an A-lister and then have him as the center of the DC universe. So the Titans taking over for the Justice League while Nightwing was running the Titans was all just an extension of how cool is Nightwing, you know? But then obviously it became how cool is Beast Boy, how cool is Raven, how cool is Donna Troy, how cool is Cyborg,
Yeah.
how cool is Starfire, and then particularly because the entire Beast World event is going to be collected in that omnibus as well. I had a ball on that book. Like,
Did
yeah,
you do all the issues for that event, or
I did all that. So there are a few, like there was spin-offs set in each city, which other people wrote. So there was like a Metropolis, there was a Gotham, but the actual core event series and a few of the ones that tied into Nightwing, the ones that tied into Titans, I wrote all of those.
nice? Okay, cool,
And
cool, cool,
Bible
cool.
and all that. So yeah, it was great.
So
Good
let's
time.
give away. So you can choose out of this. You can choose any Tom Taylor book you want from our website if it's in print.
Amazing.
So, and courtesy of the awesome, I mean, I shouldn't say the awesome, courtesy of my awesome boss and also Panel Bound Comics. No whammies, no whammies. Nico Zero. So just comment down below when after the video is done. Comment down below so I can see the comment with a way to get in contact with you.
Congratulations.
So I haven't read your Detective Comics run other than the single issue. What's been going on in that Batman run?
So our first arc was a whole sort of mess. Well, not mess with his origin, but it went back to his origin in a way that hasn't been done before. And we discovered, spoiler, but it's only a spoiler for the first issue. We basically discovered that at a certain point in his life, Thomas Wayne saved Joe Chill's life after an accident without either of them knowing each
Oh,
other.
that's
Yeah.
crazy.
And the ramifications of that then play out over the next 7 to 9 to 10 issues. And then we've upcoming this month. Yeah, this month starts The Courage That Kills, which is a really big, epic story that I can't give any too much away about. But there will be a new villain. Obviously, it's Batman in a new costume. So in Batman #1 and Detective Comics 1101, it's the new start of everything. So Batman in the cool blue, lots more gadgets, and then this massive mystery and scenario that's going to hit Gotham and Batman in a really big way. That's way too vague.
That's
But yeah,
I
the
like
character kills.
I like that. I like that there's gonna because okay, so I don't know what I like more. Right now, I feel like there's so many different Batman books, whether it's Absolute Batman, Dark Patterns, and I try to read what single issues I can digitally when they become available on the DC app. So I'm a little behind, but I feel like they're all separate little pocket universes. And I think continuity should be seasoning, but it shouldn't be like something that chains you to you should be able to tell the story that you want to tell. But I like that there'll be some parity between Batman 1 and your Detective Comics run. Well, they'll at least have, like you said, a same maybe the same aesthetic, right? Or something that and I think that's cool. When you got the gig of Detective Comics, did you know that a Batman #1 was coming and that you'd have to did you guys come up with what that would look like together?
No, we didn't. No, I mean that was Matt Fraction and Jorge
Yeah.
Jimenez. We all got on Zooms and chatted about it, the entire Gotham group, and obviously we know exactly what Matt's doing, and it's ridiculously exciting. And Jorge, they've just got cool stuff planned, and the way they're transforming the city. I think they released the map recently.
Yeah.
It's going to be epic, but at the same time, it's exactly what you just said. None of us are chained to continuity. It's more of that, it's Philip K. Johnson as well. Like we're talking, we're like, I'm doing this. If you want to use any element of this or this, you can. If you don't want to, it's fine. And it's a great way to be. And obviously PKJ and I work very closely together when we were both in the Superman group as well. So it's cool to have those conversations and feel like there's a unity there, and it is what you just said. It's that you pick up Batman #1 and Batman is wearing a new suit, and then you go to pick up Detective Comics and he's in the same suit. It's not what we're
Yeah.
playing against each other.
And I think that's the perfect way to do it, because I don't like, if I'm a reader, if the writer has an amazing idea, I don't want them to not be able to do it because X happened in this book over here that I'm not even reading. But if you are reading both, it should be a little wink to the fan that's rewarding, but not anything that restricts the writer. So that's awesome. I know my friend Bat Cato is reading it. He's the one that got me to read the 1100, which I'm very happy that he did. So that's awesome. And that's cool, man. Is there besides C.O.R.T, is there anything else you want to plug? If I give you the floor, you can promote anything that you want to promote. I'm so grateful for your time, man.
Look, do pick up C.O.R.T. The more support we have, the more chance we have to build it into something even bigger than it already is. Take a look at Neverlanders if you haven't. It's incredibly cool. Mm-hmm. It's basically a group of young homeless kids are taken from our world to fight for Neverland when all the Lost Boys have been killed.
Oh wow!
And greedy adults are coming.
And that's for
Neverland.
kids.
It's kind of YA. It won the won the Children's Book Award here in Australia, which is the first ever first comic to ever win it. 76-year history. It's a big cash prize.
Oh wow!
And everything. It's cool, and we have actually just this week finished book 2. So check that out. That's out through Penguin.
Okay. Honestly, man, I'll place an order for myself for that book. I'll check it out, man.
There is a hardcover. You can get that for yourself.
There we go.
Yeah, check that out. But yeah, the more support we can get for Children on the Roundtable, the better. And hopefully I can come on to promote 2 other things I have coming up over at DC that I can't talk about yet. But
you are literally welcome back anytime, man. You have ways to get a hold of me. I honestly, I do what I do because I want to get more people reading comics, and I don't think there's a better way to do that than actually getting to talk to the people who write these amazing books and give you the floor to pick your brain. And you are literally welcome back anytime, man. And this was a genuine treat. And honestly, I'm definitely, next time you come back, I'll have a Tree Lobster t-shirt to wear.
Awesome. Yeah.
Cool, man. Well, thank you so much for watching, guys. Everyone keep reading and stay brave.
Deep within a bleak and dismal swamp, hidden beneath its murky waters, lies the headquarters of the most sinister villains of all time. The Legion of Doom.
Did you have a good time, man?